Hello everybody! Everybody out there in GameGuru Max land, let me introduce you to this Wednesday's live broadcast. Introducing me, Lee Bamber, CEO of the Game Creators, here to talk to you, well not really talk, more waffle, about GameGuru development in general. Now, some of you may know from reading the forums and other comments that I usually post in and around the social feeds, is there ain't much happening in January. That's not quite true. There's nothing to show in January in the sense that there isn't any builds that I can reveal. In 2020, we showed a lot of progress. Half of it had wires hanging out and all a little bit weird, and you didn't quite know what was going on. In 2021, we're going to change things around a little bit, so the things that I introduce in the live broadcast is something that you'll be able to play with that weekend. And the features that I talk about and demonstrate are, give or take a couple of bugs, as far as we're concerned, subsection complete, which means we have tested the smeg out of it and it works. And we're happy to let you play with it in the light of not being a full-blown bug finder, but someone who's trying to play or use a feature. And we want to know whether we actually have achieved that goal or whether there's more work to do. We're going to move the role of bug finder to a separate group of people, so you don't get inflicted with bugs all the time. So that's the general idea. But the upshot of that is, until we have one of these completed subsections, then there's nothing for me to actually demonstrate or show in software, or so even just screenshots or sketches or designs. I want to show you something that a couple of days later you can install through the updater and then start playing with yourself. So that's the basic formula. So my apologies in advance for all of the stuff going on in January. The good news is there's only a couple of Wednesdays left in January, and it all starts getting exciting around February, when we will have a nice cascade of work that, you know, we're running lots of things in parallel. As we're designing one section, then the next section's in development. The section after that's finished development's in testing. And then after that, there's some review. So there's all these parallel lines going on. So as soon as I start showing stuff, you'll start to see them cascade through every Wednesday as those different parallel paths achieve the point of, right, this build is ready to talk about and to share. So that's my introduction preamble, completely devoid of value if no one heard me talk. So I'm just going to check if everyone can hear me. Lots of hellos, thank you very much. And Bounciest Sky says, I can hear you, so you can hear me. Now, if anyone knows of some really special link which can flag up in the corner of my screen to let me know that I can be heard without me having to ask that question each time, that would be great. Or if there's some technique that professional YouTubers use to know that they're not just talking into a dead microphone. So I alluded to this in the morning social feed announcements for this broadcast, in that this is what I'm going to call affectionately the extended live chat. That's basically a cop-out title for I don't have any builds to show you, but let's just have a conversation. And I'm going to do that by checking out the live chat. Now, if you were lucky enough to be awake and available to attend this live broadcast, you get to ask questions. So I've just flicked over to this. Now, I did try and do like a full screen chat thing, but it's not really going to work. And so what you're going to have to be subjected to is the never ever-ending decreasing series of windows as it goes off into the distance. But the bit that I actually want to show you is this down the right-hand side, which is your chats. And I'm going to go through them in order. So ask your questions. I shall tell thee no lies. I'm going to answer as many as I can in the time I have. And any answers I don't get to, I will answer those in the GameGuru forum thread. Last year, I actually answered all the questions from the video in the GameGuru thread, but it took a long time. It took like 35 to 50 minutes to reread all of the questions and answer them and do spell corrections and all the rest of it. And I felt like, you know what, I could probably gain back 30 minutes of coding time if I only answer the questions that weren't available in the live broadcast recording. So the first questions I'll answer live and in colour, And then the last questions that I can't get round to, those you'll find the answers in text form in the thread that gets posted with this recording after I finish waffling on. So without further ado, I'm going to get to the first question. As you know, I like to see question marks. Some good punctuation, please, people. So you like the music, thank you very much. I can't remember where I got it from. All I know is I paid the license to make sure I could properly use it. Here's a big piece of text. Is it a question? Yes, there's a question mark in it. This is from Super Confidential Man. Does anyone know anyone working on Lua scripts and models that might allow flying game to be made, or maybe a driving game, question mark? I would pay good money for that. There are no plans for GameGuru Max to support flying games or driving games. Now, of course, you can import your own models and apply your own scripts and get both vehicles that fly and drive. In fact, that's already been done in Classic to great effect. But out of the box, GameGuru Max won't be trying to sell people on the idea that they can make driving games and flying games, only for them to install the software and find that you can't do nothing of the kind unless you're a scripter. So we're only going to promise shooter, puzzle and RPG within the scope of the size of team that we have. When we say RPG, we're not talking about a $20 million 3-year development RPG. We're talking about all of the basic elements that you would find in an RPG game, and you can make a game using all those elements without having to code. So I hope that's clarity enough. But sure, go onto the GameGuru forums. I'm sure you'll find lots of scripts relating to vehicles. Going down to the next question. I will answer, even if it's the same person asking the question, I'll still answer it, because then we can get through lots of lovely answers. Anyone figured out the thing beginning with P? My colleague did internally in the team, because he was asking himself the question, and he's part of the development. It's like, Lee, what do you mean? What are we working on that begins with P? But he figured it out eventually, and I said, yes, you got the right answer. But I ain't saying, I'm going to leave you to guess. Nice little challenge in January, whilst there's not much build to look at. This is from Make My TV question. When will you show us the programming line you know that features that you showed us, that thing for the 3 game types, 1 for puzzles, 2nd for FPS, etc. When will you show it to us? Not for a while. My announcement list, which is basically a cascade of everything I'm going to be talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks to follow, is generally focusing on a couple of things. Certainly the getting up and running with the software, like the installer and the auto updater and things like that. And then descending down into some of the UI that you may already have seen, but we will have got a bit further along and tested it and made sure that it's ready for a build. And then I'll sort of reiterate those features. When it comes to looking at the genre types, which internally we're calling puzzle, shooter and RPG, we effectively need to do sections, completed sections of that game type before we can show it off. And so it'll be some time before, you know, when I say completed section, I mean being able to drop things in, edit the logic visually, press test game, see that experience, see that game that you've created. And there may even be an internal discussion as to whether we don't show anything until the graphics are right. So instead of creating something and pressing test game and seeing placeholder art, you press test game and you see basically what you're going to see in the final release. And if that's the decision, then of course that pushes that build and me being able to talk about it even further. But I think we're doing it in the right way. We're going for completing sections to a point where they're completely satisfactory, there's no bugs in them, and we can talk about them with confidence because they've already been created. So I think a little patience will be very useful when waiting for seeing the finished results of these game genres. Tech Jar Gameplays question is, examples of different types of games will be included. Adventure, RPG, survival. There will be 3 demo games. 1 demo game for puzzle, 1 demo game for RPG, and 1 for shooter. You've seen a glimpse of the shooter one already with the seller demo. That will be expanded. So there's much more than just picking up a gun and start shooting things. There'll be a certain amount of experiential stuff going on to sort of maybe give you the willies. And making the gameplay last a little while so you can get into it before you kind of get a taste for what that genre is. And then, of course, the idea is that you drill down into the level and start creating your own, adding extra levels, changing around the existing levels, getting to grips with game creation, especially if you're a new user. Dash says loud and clear. Thanks for attending the call, Dash. I'm a bit nervous now, but I'm going to carry on. In case you don't know, Dash is our almighty proofreader, and I think she's proofreading my vocabulary as we listen. So I'm just going to carry on, and hopefully I get a good report at the end of this broadcast. Nomad Soul's question: are there any plans to support Vulcan? The Wicked engine supports Vulcan. We have no plans to say we support Vulcan for the first release of GameGuru Max, but if you've probably figured out by now, everything in the Wicked engine can be ported over to the GameGuru Max engine. It just depends on when we decide to do it, what kind of stability we're going to get. We've also been working a lot on Vulcan with the App GameKit Studio product, our sister product, which is a programming language. So we're very, very good at Vulcan. We're just going to wait a bit longer, specifically to finish GameGuru Max with the list we've already got. But it's not excluded, and it's very close to our experience. So yeah, watch that space for Vulcan support, and by extension DirectX 12 support. Mickey Martin, can you show us how to make a waterfall in GameGuru Max? Funny you should mention Waterfalls. I was looking at a demo, some internal art that's being worked on. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we added running water and waterfalls and drips, because that would really make that scene pop. And here's the question asking that very same thing: will there be waterfalls? There is no promises for waterfalls. There's nothing on any list for GameGuru Max. It's not on any design document right now. But I like the idea that we can get running water and waterfalls into GameGuru Max. So just leave it at that. I would like to see it, but it's certainly not a promise at this stage. All the way through until it's been designed and approved and checked and made sure we've got the tech for it, and then I can confirm it as an actual promise to be included in, if not the first version of GameGuru Max, then one shortly after. Make My TV's question: will you make a tutorial how to make my own weapons? Not a tutorial, a guide. We're going to provide you with templates. That's basically models you can load into an art package that you can then modify and export your modified version back out, and a guide to show you all of the files you need to set up and where to place them in order to see your weapon in the game. And just for clarity, we're not doing a weapons creator inside GameGuru Max. That's well beyond the scope of this tool. But we will show you how to create your own models and how to set them up so they are compatible with GameGuru Max. That could very easily turn into a video tutorial series, certainly, but that's certainly not on my list right now. Lufthansian mapping, can you add the play safeguard method of payment to buy the engine? Yeah, I think I saw this question a few times before. If Stripe supports it, or one of PayPal's payments supports it, then we'll support it. Or if Steam supports it, then we'll support it. You know, via buying a Steam key instead of buying it direct from our website. Beyond that, there's no list anywhere with an item on it saying we will support PaySafeCard. So just look at those aforementioned methods. And if anyone else wants to see that payment method, and there's a lot of strong support for it, we'll definitely take a close look at it. Synchro is answering a question. Thanks very much. I think there might be a lot of questions here, so maybe when I titled it Extended Live Chat, maybe I should extend it a bit, just to give some of these questions a chance to be answered. Here's a question in capitals from Kevin Hampson. Is the Kevan, not Kevin, sorry. Is the Wicked repo you have up to date? Are you updating Wicked as the developers are vetting it? Great question. The repo that you see, the public one, that's the old one from GameGuru Classic, and as you might have imagined, if you look at the commit dates, that's not the latest one. We did a clone of that repo and brought it internal because there was a lot of wires hanging out, certainly at the start of the GameGuru Max development, and has continued to be something of a a wild west really for internal developers, and it's not really fit for public consumption. So it's not the latest version that you see. So hopefully that gives you some clarity as to what it is you're looking at when you log on to GitHub. In terms of Wicked updating the GitHub, we were boxing clever there. What we actually did is we forked FORK, the Wicked Engine's repository, into our new development system. The upshot is we're synergized with that engine. So any commits that were done after we forked that repo should blend into what we have. And we've been very careful when we have changed the Wicked engine for our own purposes. We've been very careful to document and monitor all the stuff we've added. So hopefully the commit auto system won't get too confused when it updates the Wicked to the latest version. Of course, the more changes between the commits that we do, more merging stuff we have to do. But it's actually set up to actually pull Wicked engine goodies from time to time when the time is right. But you won't get to see that until we're very confident that there is a place for a public version of this repo. So again, watch this space. Scrolling to the next one is one from Sierra Atenasio. Is there any script compatibility between Classic and Max? Full script compatibility. Every command in Classic you'll find in Max. And the idea is, currently, the way we've merged the source codes, if we add a command to Max that really has no reason not to be in Classic, it will be in Classic as well. So basically, you know, it's backwards and forwards compatible when we add Lua commands. Of course, if there's a new Lua command which specifically controls something like a Wicked special effect, then you won't get it in Classic, obviously. But yes, the idea of Lua scripts working between Classic and Max is very strong. It's just Max will add some more to it as we go on over the next few years. Nomad Soul's question, how many hours of coding per day on Max? Well, if you add up all of the people working on it, quite a bit. My time, not so much, in the sense that towards the end of December and all of January, I anticipate, I'm basically in design and management and organising and dev plans and all of that kind of mode, which is super important if we're going to actually have an idea of how long this will take, what resources we need, how many people we need, etc, etc. You need someone right at the top spinning all the plates, making sure none of them smash. That's basically my role now. But it's a funny question. It's sort of appropriate that today was the first day I actually could allocate a good chunk of hours just to bury myself in the code that will be responsible and be part of the 2021 build, the first build of 2021. Specifically about the auto updater and testing the installer, and of course going through all of the bugs that you've reported so far in the community that were transcribed to our project management system, and the ones on GitHub that were marked as bugs, marked as Max and bugs, and also the feedback that we got from our inner circle of testers as well. So all those are now on my list, and those are the things I'm going to chunk through in order to get you a build, hopefully before the end of the month, but don't quote me on that. But yes, the days of Lee working for 36 hours straight in coding, those days are probably gone. I'll probably collapse at the keyboard if I tried that these days. But I think the results will be better. I think a more organised approach with a few more people and a few more resources will produce a better product. So here's a question from Far Cry. Will the new particle system still work with the simple particle start particle emitter E and stop particle emitter E? Good question. Probably not at the moment, but let me know if you really, really want that to be the case. Because we have a whole new particle system that came and was inspired by the particle editor way of doing things, which is lots and lots of particles within a shader. This start particle emitter and start particle emitters, that was the old particle system. Now, it could be that all of them functions, those basic simple functions, are completely mappable onto the new particle system, in which case the answer is yes. But right now, the answer is no. It's two separate things right now. That's just a comment. Going to the next question from Duke229. Hey Lee, is there a chance of height map support in Classic Rmax? No possibility from Classic, because that terrain system is established, it's done, it's in, that's it. We're not going to rewrite the terrain system for GameGuru Classic. As to Max, we are warming to the idea that importing of height map data is super useful, especially with the number of terrain tools that are out there. And so you could bring in the height map, not as some sort of big newfangled thing, perhaps just as a stamp. So you can just load in a height map as another kind of stamp that you can stamp the terrain geometry onto. I think something like that is where we might go. No promises, it's not on any list yet, but we still have to flesh out the minutiae of what we're going to do to finish the terrain system. It may include having height map stamps. Here's one from Dean M. Question, will you be able to change the screen resolution in Max, full screen or minimized resolution for games? Well, I'm sure you're already familiar with the fact that if you change your Windows desktop resolution, then that will actually change the resolution of the GameGuru game. So if you're running 1080p, then your game will run in 1080p. If you're on 4K, your game will run at 4K. So you already have that capability, but I think what you mean is, can I have an in-game menu with a graphics subsection that allows you to change the resolution in there, and then have the game change that resolution? Well, I've just described it out loud, and I'm almost like listening to myself. I think it's an absolute necessity, isn't it? That a standard game, a standard modern game, is going to need that feature. Otherwise, it's going to look like a big gaping hole where you want to change the resolution. So I'm going to say yes to that. And I probably get roasted for it, but I think it's important that goes into version 1. So thanks for pointing that out. Here's another question from Kivan. Lee hit the 3 dots at top of chat to pop it out, as Dave already said. Click. Pop out chat. And then, I guess, maximize. Excellent! I learned a new thing today. Thanks very much. Obviously, everyone's like gasping and sighing, oh, how did Lee not know that? He's a complete thicko. Seriously, I spend so much of my brain time on coding. I don't really play around with these newfangled gadgets. Anyway, I'm just checking the clock. My extended chat is definitely being taken literally right now. So I am actually going to cut the cord at around 6:28. So I'm going to chat for a couple of more questions and try and keep this within the 30-minute mark. Obviously, these chats are supposed to be 15 minutes, but I thought I'd give you a little extra treat as I've not got any builds to show you. So here's a question from a Bounciest Sky. Will there be a way to change the look of water to make ponds look different than oceans? Will be able to use water at different heights. Now, my classic answer up to the end of December was no. You get a water table and that's it. Goodbye. But we have been looking at what do we really want for our terrain system and the water systems and trees and grasses and all the rest of it. And it's becoming apparent there's more than just the water table. People want lakes in mountains. We want streams and waterfalls. So we are now sketching out some designs that provide that capability. So running water, rivers, ponds at whatever altitude, multiple ponds. So maybe you're going to get your wish after all. Also, Bunty Sai asks if there's any 3D audio. Yeah, there's already 3D sound in GameGuru Classic. No plans to improve that until someone says, oh no, this is terrible. Or maybe we're going to VR and realise our 3D is terrible, in which case we need to do proper sound because it really gets picked up when you're in a VR experience. Here's another question. This is from Super Confidential Man. Will visual logic probably be powerful enough to do away with the need for lower scripting? The answer is yes. Absolutely. 3 demo games will be entirely created with visual logic system. That's the whole point. There's no point in doing half of a visual logic system and then you actually can't create any game logic. All the standard core logic that you'd expect from a puzzle game, a shooter game, and an RPG game, you'd want to be able to craft that logic. And then why send you to lower scripting if we've just said you can create these 3 games without needing to code? So yes, a visual logic creation system will be able to provide enough power that you can create those 3 game types. Won't create everything, just those 3 types that I've previously talked about. Making my TV's question, not really a question, but I wanted to tell you that you are doing an amazing job and keep it up. Definitely not a question, but much appreciated. Thanks very much. And hello, China. Looking for a question. Here's a question, a proper question this time. Not really a question. Okay, it's not really a question. Just put a question mark on the end. Keep it up. Yes, I will keep it up. There you go. I've made it a question. Nicholas Game. Question, is the online multiplayer or social, or does it support Steam? We're pushing multiplayer out our way for the moment. We want to focus on single player. We want to focus on creating a great single player experience in those 3 game types. And then once we've cracked that and it's really good, I think then overlaying what we've already got, which is our Photon multiplayer system, and obviously we'll need to do some customization on it, will be much improved. The experience will be much better once we've got that base to sit on. So certainly please continue asking your multiplayer questions, but my answer will generally be, I want my brain to focus on single player right now. So I'm going to ask answer one more question, and it's Duke229 who gets the honour. Actually, not just the trade little, I mean height map as a Pbr texture. Okay, that's what you meant. Let's see. We're going to do some importing work. I'm going to be looking at the full range of PBRs and see what's important. I think we might do displacement mapping, in which case we might need height maps. So generally think positively about that one. It's possible. If we need it, we're going to put it in. If we don't need it, or it's completely surplus and only 1% of people need it, then we won't do it. So I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yes. I'm saying it's probably more yes than no at this stage. That's about as honest as an answer as I can give right now. So I'm just checking the clock, and it's 29 minutes past the hour. And that means I am going to bring this broadcast to a close. I have a new screen for everyone. Are you ready? Can everybody see it? This is my GameGuru Max. Thanks for watching. And my closing message of every broadcast from here on in, just in case you've joined for the first time, you can pre-order GameGuru Max. It's still in development, but you can pre-order it right now. And you can get 25% off if you pre-order it right now, which will certainly help us fund the continued development of Max. And of course, as most people around here probably know, that if you do pre-order, you get these builds. So all of 2021, on Friday, you're going to get a build. And that build is what we're happy to share at that particular point, which means you can watch a broadcast on Wednesday and play with the toys on Friday. So until next Wednesday, when it will be another extended live chat. So if you want to ask more questions, wait for that. But until then, 7 days time, it'll be 4 PM GMT in case anyone doesn't know. I will say goodbye. Thanks for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.